It is festive season in my house from the 1st of November. You are so very welcome. Please appreciate this background in all of its glory. Hello lovelies, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bryony. So glad that you're here. On Tuesdays we do deep dives into the environmental, social, ethical issues of the world. This kind of falls into the social and ethical issues section, as you can probably tell from the title. You know what you clicked on. Be it a celebrity, a band, an influencer, whoever we've decided to put on a pedestal, I'm going to keep on telling you that we need to stop putting people on pedestals and realise that everyone's a flawed human being, and that we can appreciate people at the same time as recognising that everyone's a flawed individual. I think we need to switch over to that system instead, please. It'd be great, thank you. Whenever a change happens, whether it's in the way that a band sounds, the way a celebrity looks, the way that someone's lifestyle changes, or like gets into a relationship with someone, or even, heaven forbid, they decide to get pregnant, or even just moving city, we all seem to have a very strong opinion on it, and I really want to dissect this. After the last two videos, like double dose on Marilyn Monroe, very heavy videos, they're very long, but also YouTube kindly suppressed them, so they will be linked at the end and in the description box if you missed out on them. I mentioned that I needed to do something lighter, and this has been rattling around my little empty head for like a long time, so that's why we're doing this video today. Trigger warning for weight loss, weight gain, and brief mention of homophobia, by the way, in case like you're just not in the right headspace for it. This was meant to be a star. I didn't do a good job, but everything is cruelty-free, vegan, not owned by parent companies that test on animals, and in the description box down below in case you're interested. I buy everything myself, I just like to create art on my face, so that's why we're here. So without any further ado, let's get right on into it. So let's just bring this back to something that I can really relate to, right? So think back to your teenage years. Now remember, I'm 32, I'm a 32-year-old lady. Maroon 5 was like everything to me as a teenager. I had the CD Songs About Jane on repeat in my room. Remember, I'm old, so this is just what we had to do, and I didn't have many CDs. If it wasn't actually for my best friend burning a whole bunch of CDs for me, then I would have no musical knowledge at all. So thank you, Hannah. Then, you know, a few years later, It Won't Be Soon Before Long came out. Their sound had changed like a little, but it was still very much in the heartbreaky zone, and I could very much still jam with it with my teenage brain, very much feeling all of the feels listening to that album in particular. And then Hands All Over happened. The sound got even more boppy and poppy and synthetic, and the people in the band kept changing. None of the songs had the rawness of before, none of it was the realness. Like, you could kind of feel like they were just trying to recreate like what made people love them to begin with. At least that's what I was definitely sensing. But like, it really did start to absolutely feel like lifestyle maintenance, and it just carried on from there, and then we get to where we are today, where does anything have any purpose or meaning anymore? I just really didn't like who they became and how much of an egotist like Adam Levine felt like after. Like, he was so soulful in the beginning, and it's just like, ugh, another one has been lost to the industry of cool. That's kind of how it felt to like little me, you know? I mean, like, what does their music mean these days? I don't know. I don't really personally think it means anything. Now, if you're a fan of them, you're allowed to be a fan of whoever you want to be a fan of. It's just me personally, I did not like who they became and the way that their music evolved. Also, I kind of picked them because I think that most people kind of feel that way. Even if they do have massive sellout concerts, if they didn't have songs about Jane, would you even go? Now, so I mentioned lifestyle maintenance, which is a quote from my favourite movie, Untitled, which is a director's cut of Almost Famous. Also, thank you, Cameron Crowe, for giving me all of the quotes I could possibly need in the world without anyone knowing that I drop it into casual conversation all the time. So lifestyle maintenance is just referring to what a band or a person does in order to be able to like maintain this more lavish lifestyle that they've become accustomed to. It means that you're creating something without any real purpose other than just making money. And you know, like when you're working in the arts, it's all meant to be about your feelings, baby. So this feels very disingenuous when you're hearing bands that you loved, albums come out, even if it's like just artists in general, you're like, oh, does this even have any meaning or purpose anymore? No, they just want your money. You're not allowed to just want money when it comes to art. Unless you're making like modern art about it, in which case it's ironic, and that way the art people will still buy it. I'm really just throwing shade at everyone today. My goodness, I'm sorry. Now, I personally think that Maroon 5 falls squarely into this as well. You know, like when it becomes more quote-unquote appeal to the masses and maximum playability as opposed to like creating something that you really believe in, you know? I mean, you could very much say that about content creation on YouTube and stuff, having to like fit the algorithm gods. But really the thing is, why do I, someone who will never breathe the same air as them, never have anything to do with them, feel like it's the right place for me to criticize the art that they want to create, right? Like, you can apply this to literally anything. I mean, I'm a millennial. Am I just feeling entitled right now? Maybe. Like, people have tried to make cases about people like Bowie and Madonna, who are two incredibly transformational artists that have changed a lot over the time as well. And also Madonna's changed a huge amount, and I actually want to make a video just on Madonna herself as a person as well as her impact with music. I don't necessarily think that Bowie was ever like trying to be cool. It was just doing what he was influenced by, which is quite a different thing to just being like, oh, this is the thing that people want to listen to now, so I'm just going to adapt and change to this. But you know, similarly on the flip side, you've had artists that maybe haven't changed a whole bunch. Like, I've had people say to me, you've heard one Foo Fighters song, you've heard them all, which just hurt my little black teenage heart massively, because their songs have helped me heaps throughout my life, and I still like their music. But you know, people absolutely do make the case that their music has very much sounded very similar. Like, they've had little minor changes where they went a bit more acoustic, and then they mixed acoustic and rock, and then it's all kind of become together, and then they've collaborated with people, but it very much still sounds like, you know, that it's a Foo Fighters song because it kind of has that same sound. But then also you've got people who hate on Tay-Tay. They hate her for her country self, or they hate her for her modern self, like in the way that her music has evolved. There are many videos about it, which I will link a couple of down below for you because it's very interesting and important about this. But people have hated Tay-Tay whether she has changed or not. Like, they hate her old self or they hate her new self. Sure, sexism does come into play with this, I firmly believe as well. But like, the change is celebrated or crucified, whereas it's just an artist deciding to change in the way that they want to. Let's talk about looks. Like, recently with Adele, for example, like, you know, like with her Vogue interview and cover shoot, or you've got Rebel Wilson, or even taking it back to people like Kelly Osbourne and Anna Nicole Smith, whole video on her, or even like Nicole Richie if you really want to focus on the 2000s. Now, all of these women have lost weight, and all of these women have had that be the most defining thing about them as opposed to like their other achievements. This is just according to article engagement and search results about them. But even before they lost weight, they actually had that be their most defining feature as well, and the most talked about feature, even though it 100% shouldn't be. Hey, why are we still discussing the way that people look? Why? Now, particularly with women, as many people have said before, myself included, and people have made whole videos on this, the aesthetics of acceptable womanhood are very narrow and specific, with a strong, youthful, Eurocentric lean. Now, I'm not actually going to be delving into the history of racism and fat phobia because many people have made videos on, and I will actually link a couple of them for you down below just to like get you started as well. Now, the thing is, have all of these women lost weight because they wanted to? I don't know. You don't know. No one knows. They're their own person. They can decide to do what they want to do. Like, why do we all do certain things? Like me putting on makeup right now, is it because I want to be a male fantasy? Is it because I'm doing the things that society has taught me that are acceptable and wanted for me to do? Or is it because I actually want to put like pretty things on my face to be able to wash off because it's artwork? Or is it all three? And the same principle can be applied to all of us, including these women. But with weight loss come the waves of compliments, the greater opportunities, the offer of free clothes, the brand deals. Like, there's no denying the monetary and career incentives to looking a particular way. Like, especially when it is so blatantly rewarded. Like, you see the lifestyle change difference, like you see the monetary and opportunity gain difference so clearly when a star loses weight, or even like is able to break into the market to begin with. Like, does anybody remember when Mel B lost some weight and got on the Jenny Craig bandwagon, or Kirstie Alley, for example? Like, no matter what, we can all try and say, I'm just doing this for me, when I think that a lot of us would be lying to ourselves if we said it was just for us. Like, people change to fit what gets a better reaction, which, you know, like, makes sense. Humans want to be accepted and liked by people, and this is one way to do it. But their fans who liked them before, finally able to see people outside of this tiny cookie-cutter norm, like, having that representation is a meaningful thing, and I fully get that. I'm not trying to take away from that. But we also need to assess why we think it's okay to attack these women as if they're meant to be representing us. Especially when it's their own choice to look a way that they want to do, in the same way it's our own choice to look the way that we want to as well. Now, granted, around weight and health issues and all of that stuff, that's a multifaceted thing, and a lot of the time it's actually not in the person's control. So just not commenting on a person's body is the best thing to do. please. Like, the thing is that we're actually mad at the systems in place that are rewarding this and incentivizing this, as opposed to like mad at the person, or at least hopefully not mad at the person, because hey, you know what, we all want to have one specific person to blame for something, right? It absolves us when we've got someone else to hate. Like, the thing is that we really need to be attacking the systems in place that exist in Hollywood to make sure that only particular people can actually get through and have opportunities. That's a topic that's really worth talking about when it comes to Hollywood and just general jobs, actually. Or okay, let's bring it back to the internet since you're on it right now. One of my faves, Jenna Marbles. So I was introduced to her in 2012, and what was she making back then? Like Landshark, rants, like little skits and songs and stuff. Like, she had a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings, and she was making like content that was very kind of anger fueled, but you know, like hilarious, funny short form videos. Early 20s at the time, and she turned like in her 30s. And how much do you change over that time? So much. I personally have changed heaps, which is a good thing, because like we should be celebrating people changing and learning and growing. And like, her content became a lot more peaceful, a lot more creative, a lot more thoughtful, like, and just her vibing with like what she wanted to do, like what she wanted to create herself, which like most of us, all of us loved, and she still holds a dear place in many of our hearts. Now with Jenna in particular, I remember people saying that they missed the old Jenna, but the thing is, like, I listened to her podcast, like I was deep in the Jenna fandom, so hi Dink fam. So like, I remember her talking about like the fact that she didn't really like who she was before, because she had so many anger issues, and she was just like not a very happy person, and she was spouting quite unhealthy things. So people saying that they want people to go back to the way that they used to be, it's like, what, so you want someone to go back to unhealthy mindsets and feel quite toxic and angry? Like, I don't think that's something that we should be encouraging in order to just make you happy for your own viewing pleasure. Like, there's content creators out there for everyone. So you've got others like Emma Chamberlain, who started off as a teenager, and then she moved to LA when she grew up a bit, and she got a different crowd of friends, and she got involved with different things, and people are like, oh, but she's changed. We hate this. It's like, yeah, no kidding. She started off as a teenager, and now she's working on a career, and she's doing stuff Met Gala and is working with a lot of fashion brands now. Like, of course she has changed. Like, if you are the same person you were as a teenager, I'm worried for you. But, you know, like, there have been some internet personalities who haven't changed heaps, who similarly got defamed for it as well. So like Grace Helberg, lovely person, but you know, things became kind of quote-unquote stale with her. But then, you know, you've got Lily Singh, who has been criticized for making the same content, and also for like trying to break onto late night TV, but that's a separate issue. But you know, like, people are like, oh, she's just doing the same thing, like, when is she gonna grow up? And that's been kind of a thing for people to be like, okay, so you do want people to change, or you don't want people to change, you're just not happy with anyone? Is that kind of the thing? Does this mean you're not happy with yourself, huh? Is that really the main thing? I know that all of these examples can like seem quite unrelated, so let's ground this. Let's bring it back to us now, huh? Like, just people, even though everyone's technically just people, but you know, pedestals should not be a thing, whatever. So, you know, our friends, family members, or even you yourself, someone who's changed, whether it's in attitude or appearance or career or lifestyle, how did that make you feel? Or how did others react to seeing a change in you? And what was that reaction like if someone was doing something that was quote-unquote positive or negative, depending on the surroundings in which the change was noticed? I know this time of year tends to be the time where people can actually gather around, like with family members and friends, people that they love, and can also, like, if you're lucky enough to, and if you're able to travel, don't know if in Auckland we'll be able to travel at all, and also if your families have even been able to survive, because it's been one heck of a panoramic. Regardless of that fact, families can be challenging, okay? They just can. So like, for example, someone gains weight and it's perfectly okay to point that out and shame people for that, because, you know, fat phobia is totally acceptable, apparently. Please, if you notice someone has changed, don't comment on it unless they want to bring it up themselves, and keep it very neutral, because we don't want to go encouraging EDs or anything else. Like, let's just not, because, you know, they should be doing it for themselves, right? It's not really to get those toxic compliments from you, huh? huh. Or you know, like when someone loses weight, they get showered with compliments and then the comparisons start happening and it's like, oh great, I didn't know that we were working in like this competition of the male gaze. Lovely. So let's just bring this back to a personal account to make this super hashtag relatable, because that's what people want YouTubers to be. But anyway, like this is actually a personal account of mine. So someone in my life joined a homophobic Christian organisation which I had a lot of strong feelings about. Tried talking to them about it, refused to listen, but you know, it's a choice that they made, so I should respect the choice that they make even though it hurts other people, right? If you're harming others, I kind of have an opinion on it, and you see where I'm kind of going here, because you know, choices do have consequences. And yes, we're about to talk about the panoramic, because there will be discussions around the panoramic that you'll be having to deal with at this time of year. 100%. If you are able to see your family, even if it's on the phone, it's going to be happening. And for some reason it's become a political thing to, you know, try and keep people safe. And honestly, this is actually going to be a conversation that's going to keep on going into the future as more zoological diseases keep happening and more issues keep happening with global warming and stuff, which is just another thing because it's actually inescapable now. The tension levels I'm anticipating will be around about like episode 6 of Squid Game. Possibly the same amount of tears. Now let's just assess why. Why did I even want to make this video to begin with, huh? When people change around us, whether they're close to us or not, it can be like a barometer for who we are as people as well. For our own lifestyles, morals, feelings, and even our own self-image. When we see someone who we thought was like us, like change in ways that we don't agree with, when someone who we thought was like us, who we admired, changed in a way that we wouldn't personally, that gives us this cognitive dissonance that makes us feel uncomfortable, and like we need to reflect on ourselves and maybe change ourselves too. Or like we never knew that person before, now they've actually become part of a system we never liked, even though they could very well be doing that because they are 1, because they want to, or 2, because you have to play the game in order to survive, aka lifestyle maintenance, or 3, Q found them somehow. I don't know how else to explain sometimes. Now, especially with celebrities or people in positions of power, seeing them act in ways that doesn't match our quote-unquote idea of them can actually be quite hurtful, because you know, like we want to see a reflection of ourselves up there, like in that like successful thing, because you know, like this whole exceptionalism rule that anyone can technically make it, even though like statistically that's not really gonna happen. But as humans, we are hardwired to seek out like self-affirming actions and patterns. Just make us feel validated in the way that we think. Why do you think I brought up cognitive dissonance? But like, the world isn't about me or you or any one person in particular. It's about each individual person's little journey in life, or you know, like all of us hopefully collectively working together to make sure that we can still survive on this burning planet. Like, the thing is that we also live in a world that loves to pit people against each other as opposed to like us grouping together, because you know, we've got more power together. As just a little reminder. Please vote. Please get involved politically. It makes a difference. We are still living in a time that loves to compare people and pit people, particularly women, against each other. Now of course I could go on for a long time about the impact of filter bubbles and the effects of like the fact that I see different news to what you see, and I see different pictures that like have these self-affirming things by me seeing them as opposed to like what you see as well, and just like all of that stuff. Just read this book called The Filter Bubble, or just read the leaked pages from Facebook if you want to see more info on the damage that gets caused by that. Please always make sure you get your information from a broad source, not just one source, just as another reminder there. Now say for example, like people are acting in ways that you don't really agree with, whether that's a celebrity or a band or whatever. I personally found it really useful to kind of frame this in the way of like a friendship or like a co-workership or something. You know, like you could become incredibly close with people for a period of your life, but you know, people come in and out of your life like the same way that you come in and out of other people's lives. Like, we can always hope to have a positive influence on the people around us that we spend time with and stuff, but I don't really buy into this whole notion of BFFs. Like, people can change, learn and grow, and sometimes that means actually growing apart, and that's also okay. It can be painful kind of like realizing that, but it's still one of those things I just want to say it's actually okay to grow apart from people and find other people to be friends with, or other artists, or other whatever. Like, I think it's just very healthy to just realize that, hey, not everyone's going to be like this all the time, unless you know you've contractually made them like what I have. But the thing is, like, does that mean that they didn't matter? No, it just means that that's from a different part of your life where you were different people or where you had different mindsets, and it's perfectly, like, you always want people to change in more positive ways, but sometimes that doesn't happen, and I don't want people to start thinking like this is a self-reflection on me, because yeah, you know, sometimes a bit of self-reflection can be really good to be like, am I feeling uncomfortable with the way that they look, act, or are behaving or living their life because I like to think that I'm a good person and they're actually doing things that are better than me? Does this mean that there are ways I can take inspiration from them to implement that in my life instead? As long as it's not an unhealthy ED kind of way, because I don't want any of that, thank you. As opposed to us fighting against like when people change or something, I think it's more healthy to be like, well, why am I feeling this way? You know, like just questioning those things. I don't know, like this has just been rattling around in my head for a long time, and so that's why I've made this video. I did of course mention last time this needed to be a lighter, shorter video from before, because those Marilyn videos kind of destroyed me, and YouTube didn't want to show you that I'd done them, so I will be linking them at the end and in the description as well if you haven't seen them already. It's 2 hours plus of viewing, but it's good essential viewing if you like Marilyn or don't like Marilyn or don't know anything about her. Very informative. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please leave the star emoji, because that's what this is meant to be, a star, okay? Just believe me, okay? It's meant to be a star. And also leave the hashtag no more pedestals, because in the same fashion of no more wire hangers, please, that would be great. But yeah, I really hope you lovers have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again next Tuesday and on Sunday with a review. Bye! I tried to paint hearts on my nails, by the way. It may not have worked. I tried. It's something. Yes, I do have a spot just there, which is really frustrating and kind of ruining this look. Thank you for not pointing it out. I did it again! I just dropped the whole thing of glitter again. When I said I spilled it everywhere, this is my filming chair.